So you're Springer, right? Yep. So that means you spring to action. Get it? Wait, where are you going? Oh, shoot. What's going on, everybody? Republic Cinema here, and I'm back at again with doing more reviews. This time, we're doing it for the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Springer. Now, at first when this figure was released, I wasn't too keen on the figure, but now that I have him in hand, I gotta say, he's a pretty cool figure. Especially since he comes with a buttload of accessories, to make up why this guy's a leader class. But anyways, before we take a look at the figure, let's take a quick look at the packaging. So starting off on the front is this nice cartoon artwork of Springer. Everything else is just words, names, and logos, and numbers. On the top is a Transformers The Movie logo. On the bottom is all boring. On one side, you get a more zoomed out look to Springer, and on the other side is a more zoomed in look to his face. And then you turn to the back, and you get a little bit more info of what you get inside the packaging. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the box. Now moving on to Springer himself. To start off, painting and sculpting is pretty good. Of course, this figure was based off another figure from about, I want to say 5 years ago, since that other figure was released, so I guess he was kind of due for another figure. But anyways, they made some improvements upon the older iteration of Springer, only they kept a few pieces from the previous version, like this entire blue leg right here, this part of the arm, this part of the crotch, and whatever you call this thing right here. However, there of course are some differences, like the thighs, the chest, and most notably, the head, which is nicely sculpted. And I do like the Autobot symbol right smack in the middle. Makes it easy for a Decepticon sniper to know where to shoot his target, haha. However, there does seem to be a lot of kibble and odd hollow gaps, which I suppose wouldn't have been too bothersome for the figure had it not been for certain parts untabbing randomly. Now for quality wise, so far for my copy is looking pretty good. Nothing is too tight, nothing is too loose, apart from this thing untabbing a little easily if you're not careful. And these giant shoulder pads do get a little annoying from time to time, but again, they are meant to be on the shoulder. Other than that, I assure you the quality is okay. Now moving on to all of his accessories. So to start off, he does come with two little guns, which I believe are primarily used for the alt mode, but that doesn't mean you can't be creative with these accessories in robot mode. He also comes with a bigger rifle, which is blast effect compatible. He also does come with this missile shell, which doesn't necessarily tab into anywhere but one tab on the back. I suppose this was used to even out the later class budget. The back of the missile is blast effect compatible, so that way you can make this missile look like it's legitimately flying to Devastator. Moving on into the melee-ish accessories, there's this hammer, which was never used by Springer at all, until now I guess. He comes with one normal looking sword, which does look good on him, not gonna lie. But he does have one big accessory, that being this big sword, which does look mechanical, which will be explained later on in the transformation. But yeah, I think this one looks best on Springer. After all, it does mix with his paint scheme. There is one more accessory that he has, and it's stored inside of his arm. You flip this out, hold on to that part, and bam, there's a slight missile, just in case Springer ran out of guns and ammo. Oh, this is only for the left arm. The right arm doesn't have anything. And if you're wondering how the weapon storage is, I think this is the best way to store all of his accessories, after you have all of the somewhat bluish sort of accessories in the back. You have the lighter bluish accessories on the side of the legs, which go along with the color scheme, and then you have these two accessories here, which look best on him. Now with the accessories out of the way, I believe it's time we move on to articulation. Starting off, ball joint at the head, which can barely move up and down, but hey, can do a swivel, full rotation at full rotation at the arm, shoulder swivel, whatever. Shoulder pad moves from side to side and up and down. Bend at the shoulder, bend at the elbow swivel, wrist swivel, and there's finger articulation, waist swivel, legs can spread, leg can move forward, can move backwards, thigh rotation, bend at the knee, foot can move up and down, and lastly can pivot. And that's pretty much it for articulation. Pretty good. And before we move on, for my stop motion animators out there, in case you want to animate this guy dying, I have one pretty gruesome solution for you. here you go. Never stood a chance. Anyways, moving on to size comparison. Starting off, here he is next to Hot Rod, Cup, Blur, Preceptor, Blaster, Wreck-Gar. Here he is alongside another triple changer, that being Blitzwing. And then for most of the Dinobots, here he is next to Grimlock, Slug or Slag, with Daniel Woodwicky, Sludge, Snarl, and lastly, here he is next to the Commander class, Ultra Magnus. And the gang's all here. Well, some of it. We are missing RC and a few Junkians. And maybe a Rodimus Primal. Oh, and Swoop. So with the size comparison out of the way, I believe it's time we move on to the transformation, which at first seems a little bit of a complexity, but once you get all the steps memorized, you're good to go. So starting off, rotate the head, open this part of the back of the shoulder pad all the way out. After that, you want to make sure it closes onto that tab right there. It does require a little bit of force to do so. Another thing to point out actually is to make sure that this is like that. Otherwise, you'll have issues pushing this thing down. And then after that, the rest of the arm should close in real easily. Move this down, untab it, and leave it like this for now. Same thing for the other side. Untab this entire head section down, and then untab all of this. Move all of this out, actually. And then close in the head piece, close in that entire section down. Move this down, and if it not were for the head to be rotated 180, these would have had an issue tabbing in altogether completely, messing up the entire vehicle mode. After that, this entire assembly will close in like so, and if that wasn't enough, this entire assembly over here will shift backwards and close in completely. Make sure everything is tabbed in. If you want, you can go ahead and tab in these arm sections right here, so that way they don't get in your way as you transform the legs. Before you work on the legs, you might want to move this out of the way just so this has enough clearance to go through that little gap right there. Move the foot down, open the side piece out, and then move this side fin outwards as well. This entire assembly will untab and shift backwards, and when sliding all of this in, make sure that goes in right there, and you should have one part done. And of course, same thing goes for the other side. You want to make sure these two tabs tab in, but you might want to be careful in case you want to untab them. As you can see, I do have a few stress marks, so do be careful with that. After that, close this entire back assembly down and close in the arms like so, and then make sure they're tabbed in completely. And here we have Studio Series 86 Springer in his alternate mode. Or at least one of his two alternate modes. That being the car mode, and I gotta say, it does look pretty cool. It does look accurate to what he transformed into in the movie. Of course, everything is folded in relatively well. However, for some reason, the foot doesn't want to tab onto the back piece right here 100%. So keep in mind in case you have this figure already. And for weapon storage, of course, these are the side guns that I believe are primarily used for his alt modes. If you're wondering if you could do a full accessory storage in the alt mode, this is the best I could do. I give it an E for effort. Moving on to a brief comparison, here he is next to the Studio Series Hot Rod. See how they look together. And here's how he looks alongside another triple changer, that being Legacy Blitzwing in his tank mode. Not gonna lie, it would be interesting seeing these two go up against each other. With the first alt mode out of the way, we can finally move on to the next alt mode, starting with the transformation. So starting off, what you're going to do is close these all the way down, and then move this entire assembly outwards. Open the arms, untab this whole arm section, open the fin, open this part, rotate the entire section, and then close it all back together, and then leave it here for now. Same thing for the other side. And now moving on to the legs. First off, what you're going to do is split them apart. Make sure you're a little careful with those tabs, please. Fling this entire leg section back where it was before, rotate it, and pull it outwards. Move the foot upwards once more, and then next you're going to rotate it like so. Untab it until this degree. Untab this, make sure it's all the way straight, and then after that you can go ahead and close that in. The exact same process implies with the other side of the legs, and once you have that done, you can go ahead and tab them in together and make sure these back fins are tabbed in together as well. Close this entire assembly in, which will close in a little better than in the previous alt mode. But then what you're going to do next is you're going to bring this section down, shift it inwards, make sure it tabs in, and there should be a tab to which the slot of this arm will close in nice and neatly. Same goes for the other arm. And last but not least, here's the cool part. We're going to transform the sword into a nice rotor blade. Just make sure these are closed in as well by plugging this entire assembly onto that big port right there. Here you have Studio Series Springer in his other alternate mode, that being his copter mode. which personally I think looks a little better than the car mode. I do like how in the transformation the wings come out from the side of the arm. Oh, and for the record, this still rolls without any problems. I just wouldn't recommend driving this on a gravel road. And of course, the helicopter rotor blades spin perfectly well. Much like the previous alt mode before, this alt mode's weapon storage is basically the same thing. However, what I've noticed with this side blaster, since there's these two side tabs right there, once tabbing it in, all you gotta do is there's this nice little port right here that'll close in nice and neatly, holding this gun in place. Whereas with the other one, not so much. Now, if you're asking what to do with the other accessories in terms of accessory storage, just please get out. I also want to point out, since these are a little loose, they do happen to find themselves over here from time to time. Not gonna lie, it looks like some sort of gimmick where they just go that would be cool to do in a stop motion. And now for one final comparison. Here he is alongside the triple changer Blitzwing in his jet mode. See how they compare between the two. Both of them are looking pretty good together. Although, be sure to let me know in the comments which one you think is better. And I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all I have to say for this guy. Overall, pretty solid leader class. Yeah, for being a leader class figure, he is a little bit on the Voyager scale, even smaller than some Voyagers. But of course, he does come with a lot of accessories, which add up to the leader class price point. Now, is it worth the extra $20 for just an improved figure and a couple more accessories? In case you already have the Siege Springer, I don't think it's necessarily worth the extra $20. If you have Siege Springer and plan on replacing him with the Studio Series Springer, then I'd say go for it. If you're looking to pick this figure up, he is available on Amazon for $54.99. He'll go up in price sometimes and then come back down to his original price. I'm not sure when he'll be in stock out in the wild, but be sure to let me know in case you spotted him by any chance. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all I have to say. If you like what you saw in this video, be sure to slam that like button, share this with your friends, turn on post notifications so that way you don't miss another upload. Let me know how I did in this video, and most importantly, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See ya!